our thoughts and feelings and beliefs around money drive our behaviors, and they create our financial reality. So that sort of scarcity mindset is often based on untrue beliefs that we've adopted, inherited. It's around a reframe to see opportunity, to see ways forward, to see possibility in the world. And that's much more inspiring.
Mad for life, making a difference for a lifetime. Join me, Jill Hicks, as I take us on a quest to learn, to grow, to understand more about ourselves and how we can be the healthiest version and be able to do all the things we want to do for a lifetime. I'll be talking to the scientists, the thinkers, the doctors, the doers, the practitioners, the people that are leading the way in the areas that can improve our health, from our mind health to our body, to our soul, to how we contribute to the world. I'm really excited. This is 20 years in the making for me. Mad for life, making a difference for a lifetime. Financial health. I thought there was no one better to speak about the psychology of money and our relationship with growing our wealth than Betsy Westcott. Betsy is a financial advisor, a mortgage broker, a certified money coach, and a founder or the founder of the Inner Money Journey. You may have seen Betsy on many of the programs on television on finance. She's a commentator, a well-known commentator. I'm thrilled that she's with us. Financial health, a bit like mind health, I believe, is the most important underpinning for us to have a life of making a difference, of having the things that we want to or being able to enjoy the things we want to enjoy, to be able to live as we want to live. So it is crucial. And yet, so many of us have a very difficult relationship with our financial health. So I just love it that you are welcoming and warm enough to say, welcome, I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad you're here, Betsy.
Honest, I am glad people are here. I know how heavy the topic of money can be, how much shame, how much confusion, how much overwhelm that money can carry. And because it is a resource that we all have a degree of access to, some more than others, we feel like we should know how it works and what to do with it. And we have a lot of stories about everyone else having it figured out, and it's just us.
And especially if we're professional people, because then if we're successful in our professional life for our company, but not reflecting that in our personal life, then that becomes something that's so difficult to share and to talk about.
Yes, because money is something that we use to tangibly measure ourselves and success. And so if we feel like we're not competent or thriving in that area, then it creates this meaning that we're somehow less than, which is of course not true. Money is just a tool. It is a means to an end. It is not the end in of itself. And like any tool or skill set, you can learn how to do it. But the gaping hole that we all sort of navigate is the fact that we quite often don't get taught how to use it. We look to our parents who may or may not have the skills or great behaviors or relationship with money themselves. There's starting to be more financial education at schools, but certainly not enough. And then we turn to financial institutions to teach to us, but there's a little bit of a conflict of interest there. So
yeah. And that relationship has changed, hasn't it? Because I remember, I'm just at that cusp where I remember having a bank manager and having a relationship with the bank manager. And when I first left Australia to go off to London, and the bank manager said to me, look, here's my home phone number.
Oh.
Call me because I know that you don't understand the exchange rates and how little money you actually have. And I did call him and had a sort of a breakdown in a public telephone box. But that relationship was so incredible because he knew me, he knew my potential. He backed me, but he still knew the pitfalls and how far I had to go.
And he was there to give you that sage guidance and advice and operated in your best interests, which through the loss of those branch managers, and I also love it was a branch manager because that was one of my first roles in banking and I loved it. And growing up, I grew up on a farm. We too had the bank manager that used to come out and would put out the best tablecloth and would get like cream buns from the bakery, which was quite the treat. Yeah. And it was such a auspicious occasion that the bank manager was coming out because they really were that pillar in our community that did help guide and advise. But finance and banking has become depersonalized in so many ways. And also our lives are not cookie cutter. And so the right thing to do with your money isn't one size fits all. It's around understanding who you are and what your goals are and what your ambitions are and matching your financial strategies to facilitate that. And I think that's one of the things that gets lost in a lot of the traditional financial literacy and education and advice is it's like, just follow this golden rule and you'll be golden. But our lives don't fit into tiny boxes on a spreadsheet. We have seasons of life. We have complicated demands, competing demands at times. And so that's why that understanding of self, your mindset and your relationship with money, clarity around what makes life feel rich for you, coupled with financial education are the key ingredients to living well financially, or living what I call living a rich life. And I mean rich in the true sense of the word, in that, yes, you have financial security and choice, but you also have rich relationships and purposefulness in your work and good health and all of those things that come together. And that's what I hope to see more of.
So what is there a common thread of that you can pinpoint of where this relationship is breaking down, of the psychology of understanding and wanting to understand your financial position, wanting to grow it, stopping the urges to continuously consume when you know that actually isn't fulfilling your higher value of self?
There's a few things, in my opinion. Okay. One is that we trick ourselves into believing that money is about math, logic, and willpower alone. Mm-hmm. And it's not. It's deeply emotional. It's emotional because it's so closely tied to our safety and well-being. In the absence of funds, in the absence of money, you don't have shelter, you don't have food, you don't have well-being. So it's very essential to our safety and well-being, which makes it adds a level of sort of stress to it. Yeah. But then also what it is the conduit to, which is living well and having freedom and agency around the way that you conduct your life, is also quite high stakes. And money, we give it so much meaning because what it allows us to do is to create a lot of meaning from our lives. So we trick ourselves into thinking it's just math and logic and completely ignore the role of emotion and our behavior and how it shows up in our nervous system. The second thing is that a lot of what we're taught about money and a lot of the literature around money is about wealth maximization. So how to make the most amount of money, which is useful, but really when used well, money is about life maximization and choice maximization. And so following the strategy that's going to maximize your wealth can quite often be in conflict with what is going to maximize your life.
Yes.
We see examples of this all the time. You know the executive who has all the trappings of wealth and the big salary and the title, but all of that comes at the cost of health and relationships. And so is that maximizing life?
Yeah. And it's a funny pendulum shift, isn't it? Because you've got the stress associated to big money and keeping big money. And then you've got the stress associated to the lack of, and how do I get it? So it's like how do we live without the stress and change our relationship entirely with chasing the source, and it's one that's really, well, I wake up in the middle of the night thinking, I have a daughter. She's now 12. So what does that look like? What do I need to put in place for her? And it's this constant worry, and been consuming a lot recently about the power of manifesting. And I'm all for it. But one of the things that sort of highlighted to me, and I thought I must speak to Betsy about this, is one of the suggestions is that you jump forward and you be that person that you're manifesting with all of the trappings of what that looks like. What does your life look like? Are you in the car? Are you in the house? Do you have the clothes? Be that person you're manifesting. And I just thought, well, okay, but that comes at a cost. So that then felt like a disconnection as well of sure, jump forward, but how do we do that with our mind's vision rather than, leasing, a Ferrari, saying that's who I am, and then falling into the pitfalls of overextending before we're there, before we arrive.
Yes, and it's a challenge that a lot of people face when they step into the world of really tapping into the energies of wealth, the energies of the life that they're trying to create and trying to manifest. And I have a friend who wrote a book called Make It Happen. Her name's Jordana Levin, and she has this equation for manifesting. I hope I don't butcher it, but it is thoughts, feelings, belief, and action. And she says that you need all 4 ingredients in order to make your manifestation happen. And thoughts, feelings, belief, action. Yeah. Or maybe it's thoughts, feelings, faith, action. But either way, one of those. And, yes, I think that tapping into the feeling of what it is like to have what you believe and all of that is very powerful. But you have to ground it in practicalities that you are not inadvertently robbing yourself of that future as well.
That's it.
And I think also when I hear someone going, okay, well, I want the Ferrari and I want the wardrobe and all of these things, I think it's important to taste these things and to tap into the feeling of them. But what's more important about a manifestation practice is, one, going with inside to say, why do I want these things? What does it mean? What's it going to allow me to do? How is it going to
change my life?
Fulfill the purpose of my life? And often we look to external metrics of success rather than going inside to be like, what does add to my happiness? What does make my life feel meaningful? What will make life be richer? And I think, coming back to with your manifestation practices, like, what is it about these things that we're calling in? How can I feel and experience them today? But how can I actually build the skills to tangibly make them happen? And this is where that action piece ties in. And I don't want to dismiss tapping into feeling all of those things, but it's about having the skills to be able to build, create, and actually hold those things that you're calling in. Because what I've seen happen before is that people may call in extraordinary opportunities, but because they haven't built the skills and regulated themselves, be able to hold and be a custodian of those things, they slip through their fingers quite quickly. So it's, as much it is about the mind and the energy, there's still tangible steps to take and to kind of prime yourself. And one of my favorite sayings is luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
And so I sort of see manifestation as, you priming the mind, you're priming your energy system, but you're also priming yourself to be in the real world and to be able to hold and embody that too.
Something I do a lot of work on is mind posturing. And that's posturing your thoughts, and perhaps there's a sort of a straddling of what you're saying could apply to us being able to posture ourselves as people of great wealth. And maybe it's just us re-looking the narrative of wealth. And as you beautifully said, what to look at our richness and our riches. And something that I value a lot is time. And of course, that's how, time is charged. But when I have time, I'm always very consciously aware of just how precious that is, that I've noon where I can choose how do I want to spend this afternoon. And I'm always acutely aware and very grateful for the wealth of time. So whenever I'm working, I always think about of course the purpose of how am I approaching this? Does it feel like it's laborious, or does it feel like it has purpose and meaning? And of course, again, that's an incredible position to be in, and why this making a difference for a lifetime really mattered to me, and why finance and financial health really mattered. Betsy, are there some practical steps that we can take that you're able to share for us to be, firstly, and I'm saying this in a way that I'm assuming that our listener is already leaning in and ready to make those shifts. So we're not talking to people who are foreign to the idea of change and opportunity to change. But are there things that we could be doing immediately that can see some pretty big impact
on our finances? Absolutely. The first thing that I think is a huge shift is to actually ask yourself, what does a rich life look like for me? And looking at it in that holistic sense of finances, health, work, time,
and this could be a vision board or something like that, like a very practical.
Yes.
Right.
I love a vision board.
Yes.
And I have been absolutely blown away around what my vision boards have led to throughout my life. It's I am a huge advocate for creating them, and then also anchoring them in practical goals, saying, what, how much, by when. Those then give you the ingredients to create a strategy, particularly when it comes to money, on how you might actually reach and attain those visions. Then it's around awareness around, does the way I show up with my money, the way that I make it, the way that I spend it, where I invest it, does that actually align with the vision that I'm trying to build here? Or is there anything that is sabotaging or in conflict with that? So really looking at the behaviors that you have, but also the way that you talk about money, and just getting some real clarity around what's really serving me here. And we want to honor and elevate that. But what is actually limiting, sabotaging, conflicting here that I might need to work on and reframe.
So how do you feel about when people talk it from a scarcity point of view? So, oh no, I wouldn't be able to afford that. Oh no, I'm not going on holiday. We haven't got the money. Does that need to shift?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. And first of all, it's just about one, noticing it. Two, is it true? What would need to happen if that were not, if that were to change, how do I need to behave? What would I need to do? How do I, what do I need to do with my money then if I wanted to make that reality? And just stop accepting these truths and these narratives that we've created that are really driving our decisions and our financial outcomes, because our thoughts and feelings and beliefs around money drive our behaviors and they create our financial reality. So that sort of scarcity mindset is often based on untrue beliefs that we've adopted, inherited, and just kind of let run on autopilot for a really long time. So, and switching to a mindset where there is abundance and opportunity, that's not reckless optimism. You're not just like hoping and praying. But it's around a reframe to see opportunity, to see ways forward, to see possibility in the world. And that's a much more inspiring place. And you often surprise yourself when you look through the world of that.
And if we're in a sort of employment rather than an entrepreneurial career life, then if we've got a set amount every month, how can we then see that grow, do you think?
So it's a couple of things. So one, it's learning how to actually grow money. Most of us know how to make money. We know how to keep money and through savings, but we actually never learn how to grow money and make money work and earn its own money. Yeah. So investing in understanding how might I actually become someone who can grow money through investments. When you're looking at the money that you have, am I spending it in alignment with what is important to me? We really have two levers when it comes to managing our money and creating wealth, and it's either to pull back on the expenses and reprioritize them toward things that are more in alignment with our goals, or to elevate our income. So finding ways to create income, whether that's within your role of employment through maybe promotion, or a changing of roles, or whether that's through like, if this goal is really important to me, what am I willing to do?
What's my side hustle?
Yeah. And embracing that. And there's a million ways to make money if you're really open to it. It's just about what are you willing and able to do there. Why I love focusing on the income side is that the opportunity is unlimited there. There's only so many bills you can renegotiate, expenses you can reprioritize before you kind of hit a peak or a bottom. So I do always love, whilst I think it's important to be mindful and really deliberate with your expenses and make sure, you're not paying the lazy tax because you don't ask for a better deal or renegotiate or switch providers. And that when you are spending money, you're spending it on things that are important, high priority, high value to you. But there's a limit to that. So how can we look at what is unlimited, which is the income side? I think that's a really good investment of energy.
Yes, I love it. And the thing that I've tried to tune out of is I love listening to radio and hearing constantly about the cost of living crisis. And of course, I see it at the supermarket. I'm surrounded by it. It's in our lives. But what I've decided to do was to find the opportunity within that, and therefore start looking at how I cook. What are the recipes? How can I use that vegetable differently? And it's actually been a really beautiful family thing to do. And it's reminded me of those times of hardship when people did come together and grow things, and it changed the way we lived. And I'm liking that. I'm feeling that I'm closer to understanding my food source differently and not so disposable with choices, but rather really researching and looking at recipes that are, I can get 2 days out of this, and there's lunches as well. And it's, I'm enjoying that rather than feeling it's a hardship.
And this is all about taking care of your money. Oftentimes we think about, I really want to, elevate my finances. I want to do better with my money. It's often framed in very punitive, restrictive ways, which of course does not feel good, which does not motivate you to come back to it. But I really encourage people to see this as a well-being practice, as a self-care practice. And, when you take care of your money starts to take care of you. And these don't need to be bold, sweeping changes. Something as simple as what you're describing there about being really mindful of, okay, I want to feed the family. How might I do this in a way that's really nourishing for them, but also financially quite efficient? What can I do to meal prep, get more out of one cooking phase, whether it's time efficient as well? Or it could be, okay, I'm going to, something like practicing yoga might be a really important practice for your well-being. So how do I really protect that expense, and where can I deprioritize other expenses to ensure that I can afford this really nourishing thing for me, which is going to help me to show up better in the world, do better at work, make more grounded decisions in my day-to-day, which is ultimately going to support all of my well-being. And it's taking that really mindful and aligned and positive approach to money, rather than it being like, I've got to cut back. And I hear this all the time with clients, like, oh, I need to be more disciplined. I need to cut back. I just need to learn to sacrifice a bit more. And I'm like, Jesus, that doesn't sound fun. Like, are you sure? Prioritizing spending.
Yeah. Just two things as we come to a close on this absolutely important conversation, and that is, what's one thing that makes you scream at the television or the radio, or that you just think, oh, it's so clear to me. If only we did this, it would change the world.
I think this belief that money and wealth is not for us, that it's this really complicated thing that other people get to understand and enjoy. It is just a tool. And actually, to make, keep, and grow money doesn't require great deals of intelligence. It requires some conscious, mindful practices, a little bit of education, but it is available to all of us if you choose to be someone that wants to engage with it and wants to build the skills and to build the mindset that is going to create a prosperous life for you. It is available, but you can't ignore money and hope that it will grow. You need to lean in and nourish it and engage with it, and it will reward you.
That's amazing to think of it as a beautiful extension of ourselves that is serving our higher selves, that's serving the value of us, and absolutely the foundation for us to make a difference for a lifetime. Thank you, Betsy.
You're welcome, Jill.
Every time I look at anything that I want to spend that I think is outrageous, I always think of you in my ear saying, do you really need that, Jill?
Oh, thank you, Jill. And look, if I am in your ear, I hope sometimes the answer is yes. I do
that
really
looks great on you, Jill. Buy it.
Yeah.
Get two.
You get it, girl.
I hope this conversation has helped you in your commitment to being mad for life, to making a difference for a lifetime. If you'd like to know more, please join us on our website, mad4.life. Until next time, I'm Jill Hicks. Stay mad.